Good morning, Coach. Congrats on the win in New Mexico. How excited are you to be home for the next couple weeks?
Yeah, it's great. Be nice not to have to pack on Thursday night when we get home. It's like, gosh, how many times we have to do this? So awesome to come home, and really excited to be back in front of our fans. It's going to be a great game, great matchup this weekend, and so hope they come out and support us. We're gonna need them.
Your defense has only given up one touchdown the last two games combined, and that was a short field after a turnover. What do you think has made the difference for the momentum we're seeing on that side of the ball?
Well, I think it has to do a little bit with, really, it was very impressive against San Jose, obviously, right? Last week, I think they were trying to find themselves a little bit offensively, but I think Coach Coyle and the defensive staff are doing a good job of putting a plan together. And then I think some of our younger kids that are either backups or just now starting to get a lot of playing time are starting to get a better feel for the game as well and executing well. I think our guys on defense are playing really, really hard, running to the ball, doing a good job. We've done a nice job of holding people out of the end zone because it's not like they haven't been down there. They've been down there, but we've held them out of the end zone. So we played some good defense in the red zone.
You talked about New Mexico trying to find themselves offensively. San Diego State has gone through that now the last few weeks and maybe discovering something new. What do you see from them going into this matchup?
Well, you know they're always going to be physical running the ball. That's what their MO is, and they always do a great job of it. The quarterback they have playing now looks like he's kind of finding his groove. Threw for over 300 yards against Hawaii. As I understand it, they'd moved him to safety, and then they brought him back to quarterback. And so last couple, you wouldn't have, watching him on tape the last couple of weeks, you wouldn't have known that he hasn't been playing quarterback. He's done a really nice job. And so they're always dangerous because they run the ball so well, and then obviously the play-action pass, when you overcommit to the run. So they're always, it's always a tough matchup. It's always a very physical game with them.
Coach, we talked a lot about the offensive line Saturday against New Mexico, but one of those linemen, Bula Schmidt, recorded a reception, and according to our game notes, that was the first reception in almost 15 years for Fresno State. Can you just reflect on that moment and kind of the run he made?
Yeah, for 4 yards. I saw that. Thankfully, he just held on to the ball. That's not something we really want happening all that much, but I guess all those little drills that we do with everybody doing ball security paid off because it's not the first time he's had the ball in his hand. We do practice that. So thankfully it paid off.
On the note of the offensive line kind of having their way in that game, was that a case of a consistent line and maybe no injuries in that group? What can you say about that group in terms of injuries?
Yeah, we did have a couple injuries, but for the most part, those guys did a good job of playing. We didn't have a lot of rotation going on, but Osmar Velez didn't play last week. He was hurt, who had been our left guard. But Tyrone filled in nice. Sampson filled in nicely there. But, yeah, that group finally, having Dante back in the game, and I hesitate to say healthy because I'm not sure that anybody's completely healthy right now. It's just that time of year with football. But to have that group work together, I thought they did a really nice job against a really difficult, complicated front of New Mexico.
Coach, we'll ask you the weekly question about injuries. Where are you with some of the key guys who've been out for a while? Hainer, Evan Williams. Can we see them back this Saturday?
Again, the answer is the same. It really just is, about how they're healing. And it's a week-to-week proposition to see how they feel through the week. And some things are how they feel. Some things are how x-rays look. So, obviously you can go a little bit more on how guys are feeling, but when you're waiting for results of x-rays or MRIs or CT scans or whatever, you just really never know. But, we have our share of those guys for sure that mounted. We had to play some young guys in the secondary last week. And, so hopefully we're getting a couple guys back in the secondary that have had minor injuries, but not have been able to play. But each week they just keep mounting, So some guys they add to the list, and some guys come off the list. So, and we never really know till Thursday about who we think's going to play in the game with a lot of positions.
Any indication, though, that this might be the week that these guys could come back, the progress that they've made over the last month?
No, because no one's practiced, So, I mean, it's one thing to be healthy, but it's a whole different thing to be ready to play in a college football game. You have to be in shape. You have to have your timing, all those type of things. So no one has been in practice yet. So until they're able to practice, they're not ready to play in a game yet.
You mentioned one of the young guys getting an opportunity is Jaden Davis, kid from here, from the Valley, from Bullard. What did you see from him on Saturday, and how do you project his future as a Bulldog?
Yeah, he only played in a few plays at the end there, but we have high hopes for him. He's done a really nice job in practice, and when we got a little bit thin last week in the secondary and at nickel, to add some young guys to the list, and he was at the very top of the list to bring him, and got in there, made a tackle, So we're very encouraged by what he does in practice. I think he has a bright future here.
You mentioned after the game, obviously a lot went well in a 41-9 win, but you mentioned after the game about the defense not forcing turnovers. How do you address that with the team this week?
Well, we dropped a couple interceptions. We had one ball come out that we just didn't get. It's not that we're not trying. We put a lot of emphasis on it. We work on it every single day in practice. I think we could probably do a better job of keeping our eyes. I think sometimes we get a little bit too focused on the receivers and don't see the ball because we're playing coverage. But the guys are playing hard, and sooner or later they're going to come. They have to, because our guys are playing hard. They're running to the ball. They're tackling well. So I think we're in position to make plays, and sooner or later they have to come.
Logan had that one turnover on offense, that throw that I'm sure everybody wishes he could have back. But now that he's started his fourth game, obviously it was a complete game for him. How would you assess where he is, confidence level, development level after 4 games as a starter?
Yeah, I think each week he grows, which is natural really for a young quarterback that's just starting out. Even though each week the defense you play is totally different, you never play the same defense, coverages, fronts, blitzes. They're all different. But there's one thing Logan has done all the way through, and that's keep his poise and composure. I think he does a really good job of that through the week of practice and then the game. I think he's leading our conference in passing percentage at 66-something%. So he's been efficient. We haven't thrown a lot of touchdown passes, but as far as moving the offense and completing the ball and doing that, I think he's done a really nice job. And I just think he continues to improve each week. That was a very nice throw he made to Cropper for the long touchdown. And so the more he plays, the more he's going to get comfortable.
So from your quarterback to San Diego State's quarterback, Paul asked you, and you kind of touched upon it too, about the guy they have now who went to DB and then back to quarterback. Their backup quarterback is now a wide receiver, right? I think that's where they're putting Burmeister. Have you seen something like that before, where there's so much shifting and so much movement on an opposing team at the quarterback position, where they're taking reps at other positions?
Not really. I can't say that I have. Maybe one thing of a quarterback moving to receiver. We've seen that before. But for a defensive guy to come back and play quarterback and then move him around. But obviously they know what they're doing. The guy's doing a good job. So I don't think it's a real stretch that, they made a thing that, they were experimenting with. I think they must have had a really good idea what this guy could do playing quarterback. And it's pretty obvious. He looks pretty efficient to me. Like I said, I wouldn't have known that he just came back to quarterback. He looks like he's been there the whole time to me. No. Not really. Whatever the defensive plan is going to be the plan. It's really doesn't matter who's going to play in that plan. Now, it does matter depending on probably different personnel groups that we play, whether you're a nickel or dime or whatever, on who's playing which position. So we should get Justin Houston back this week, and so that should help us a little bit. But it really, the game plan isn't formulated around certain people, but in different personnel groups, it just tells you who to practice at those positions and who to get ready to play. And that's the hardest part, when you practice through the week and you get guys ready to play and then they can't play because they have a late week injury. That's always difficult. And so I don't think the plan will change depending on who's playing. Yeah, but Ray's out for the year. He had a knee surgery. He's out for the year. Amore Edwards is out for the year with a knee surgery. Like I said, things just keep adding up week to week. But as of right now, it looks like Ray's out for the year because he had a thumb surgery. I'm sorry, he didn't have a knee surgery. Amore had a knee surgery. Ray had a thumb surgery. So he's got pins put in his thumb that's probably going to hold him out for the rest of the year. Well, we've had our share of it, that's for sure. And, I think we show up each and every week to practice, impressed with the way our guys practice, the way they work, the way they stay together. So we still have, a lot of football left in front of us because really the conference season's right here on us, right? And we're in the thick of it. So, we always talk about purpose, preparation, and commitment. And we definitely have a purpose, and our guys have been really good at preparing and staying committed through the process because it hasn't been easy. When you have some setbacks like that through injury and losing in the fourth quarter in a few games and things like that, it's very challenging. And so even though there's been some disappointment, there hasn't been discouragement. And so I think the guys are ready to go. Similar, yeah. Well, it's similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar. They come from the same family. I guess that, which yes, I think that helps you a little bit, because we have seen some of it. Some of the movements a little bit different, but there are some similar aspects to it, which helps you for 2 weeks in a row to play something like it. Coverages are a little different, so there's little nuances that obviously are going to be different to each team, but the background of it is similar.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. I noticed for the second game in a row, Mims and Sherrod together have had a higher combined workload. Is that because of game flow? Is it because of game script, or is it because your offensive line is playing a lot better?
I think all of the above. I think our offensive line has played well, but I think it's because of Malik's production. I think Malik has earned his way onto the field more, and I think that really helps us too because it helps keep Mims fresh. But I think Malik has played really, really well. He has a different approach. His game's just a slightly bit different than Mims, but they're a good 1-2 punch. And so really happy with the production of both of them last week. And we're going to need them. We're going to need both those guys to play well down the stretch here.
How is this 1-2 punch of Sherrod and Mims different from what we saw from Ronnie and Jordan the last couple seasons?
Not much different. Ronnie is unique unto himself. I wouldn't, I think our backs are good and things like that. I think Ronnie was very unique in his style and what he did. But it's always good to have two backs, two to 2 to 3 backs, and we've been really fortunate over my coaching career to have good 1-2 punches in the backfield, and Sherrod has really matured a lot and has really earned his way. Like I said, earned his way onto the field. He's doing a good job.
Expanding on Scott's question a little bit, I know the last time you faced San Diego State, Rocky Long was their head coach, and now you just face him as a D coordinator. How much of Rocky Long is still on the San Diego State defense?
As far as the recruits?
As far as recruits or schematically wise, or what in the defense resembles Rocky Long currently?
Well, I'm sure there's still, I don't know the number of guys, but Rocky's been gone, a few years, so I'm sure there's still some recruits that he had that are on the team. Seems like, with the COVID year, there's a lot of people who've been around for 5-6 years, so I'm sure there's some players there. But yeah, they're, like I mentioned, it is in the same, the defense is in the same family. They're a little bit different, little nuances that are different, but the same family, like New Mexico calls their guy a Lobo, they call their guy an Aztec, but they kind of, and they're all over the place. They play safety, they play linebacker, they blitz, they cover, they're all over the place. But it's not just that person, it's the whole scheme is based on a lot of movement, a lot of different alignments, and some coverage variations. And so, but they're not exactly like New Mexico, but they come from the same background.
Like maybe Cousins?
Yeah, okay, I'd take that.
All right, that works.
Cousins.
All right. In terms of injuries, the same core four, it's Hayner, Evan Williams, Ray Scott out for the year, and Josh Kelly. Those four are not available this week?
Correct.
All right.
Like I said, Amore, the list is kind of long. I don't even know off the top of my head all the different ones that are out. But yeah, and again, it's week to week. We get new ones week to week, and as the report comes in today, guys are lined up to get MRIs today. So we'll get information today on whether this guy's going to be out for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. So it's an ongoing process. Football's football, and after a tough football game, you come in and people are banged up, and we have to do our due diligence with our training room and with our medical team to find out where they are. And then we take it from there. Whether they can practice, whether they can't, whether they're going to be out for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we don't know. But I'm sure there's going to be a few more on the list today.
And last question from me. What was the reason for Justin Houston not being able to play New Mexico on Saturday?
Well, because we didn't get information in time that cleared him. There was a couple different things that needed to happen. It was 6 games and something else, and it didn't come through in time. He was on the trip, but it didn't come through in time. And so, unfortunately, we weren't able to play him. We practiced him, but we weren't able to play him. But hopefully that gets cleared up this week, and he's ready to go.
You mentioned more injury news coming today. Any indication on some players from the New Mexico game that could be in question? I believe Elijah Gates was one of them that exited.
He's one that we're waiting on. Yep. He's one because he couldn't finish. He didn't finish the game, right? And so he's getting an MRI. And there's a few other guys that that after the game they show up on Sunday, and they have different things wrong with them, and then so we have to get X-rays or MRIs to find out. But Elijah's one that could not finish the game, and so we'll see how he does. What the MRI says, and then whether he's going to be able to practice this week or he's going to be out for a while.
Your safety room might have been the deepest on the team going into the year. What was it like maneuvering without your maybe top 3 or 4 guys by the end of the Lobo game?
Yeah, no, it was a challenge because not only that, our nickel position was the same. And so the other thing is we are at the time of year where people have played 4 games and we're making decisions on redshirting guys or not, right, because they've played 4 games. And so some guys were kind of putting on the shelf. Unless there's absolute emergency that they may redshirt. Given our nickel position, Reggie Strong had to go home for a funeral. Amari Pate's probably going to redshirt. And so all of a sudden, and then Justin Houston couldn't play, and so now all of a sudden, and we got guys in the secondary at safety that are injured, and those two things are synonymous. They kind of go back and forth with some guys can play nickel and safety, and so at the last second we had to take two young guys with us on the trip, right? That really didn't practice here on scout team all week, so we had to get them up to speed at the last second, and that was Julian, Neal, and Davis. You know, we brought them on the trip, but they were on the scout team. They didn't have one rep of defense, but we had to get them ready to go at the hotel that night. You know, so it was a little bit anxious as it was coming down Friday. Not to mention that, but they're also special team players. Those guys are big special team players. So now all of a sudden we're putting people in special team roles. They haven't had one rep in special teams all week. So it was, you know, Friday night was a little bit interesting, and Friday night and Saturday morning were interesting, trying to get people up to speed if they had to go in.
Given that Houston's already missed 7 games, is there any temptation to try to use that 4-game redshirt with him?
No, I don't think so. He's really chomping at the bit to play, and we need him to play. We really do. You know, so he's hopefully we get some news here in the next, hopefully today, that will allow him to practice. We're going to practice him tomorrow no matter what, anticipating he's going to be good to go.
You've discussed the kind of the background with San Diego State's quarterback, but just their offensive game plan and scheme in general and what he brings to it, just what's your overall evaluation of the Aztecs on that side of the ball right now?
Well, they run it. The back was all conference last year, and I believe, and just watch. So those are some of the things I read, but just watching the tape, they're always very good up front, physical up front. The quarterback can move around. He's a left-hander. And that's what I mean. I didn't even know that he moved from defense back to offense. I'm just watching the tape. I just found that out as I'm starting to read articles, right? So I watched the tape first, and I would never have known that. You know, he's accurate throwing the football. He throws it deep. He can throw it short. He's athletic, you know. So, and then I look at the stats, and he threw for over 300 yards against Hawaii. So, you know, he brings a dimension to them that, and I didn't go back and watch all their games through the whole year, but obviously he brings an added dimension to them, and they can always run the football. There's no doubt that they can run, and they always have really good tight ends, really good offensive linemen, and the receivers, you know, are big play guys that they can play action and throw it over your head, you know, so they're dangerous.
Fans probably didn't anticipate 3-4 right now, but this game, now that you've bounced back, could be big in determining the West Division. Just what are your hopes for the crowd and the game atmosphere around this?
Yeah, you know, 3-4 kind of is not even, to tell you the truth, not even in our mindset or anything like that. You know, it's so much about 1 week at a time, you know, that it seems like a lot of those things were so long ago. And we just have to focus right now on one game at a time, right? And we played some pretty strong teams in our conference, and here comes another one, and it doesn't get any easier down the stretch. But, you know, what you play for is you play for a chance to compete for the conference championship. And we are in that position, you know, with a lot of work to be done, a lot of games to be played, but we're in a position to compete for the conference championship. You know, and that's what we started this whole thing for, right? And so the purpose, like I said, you know, the purpose and preparation and commitment, the purpose is absolutely there. Our purpose is right in front of us, and we just have to do our work and stay committed to one day at a time and know that we got to bring our best each and every week. All right, thank you.